Let's talk all about AI in business. It's hosted by Brent Muller. Welcome to the Future Proof Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Future Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Brent Muller, and today I'm joined by Soren Bradbury from Digica. Soren, it is great to have you.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so first off, just to introduce yourself to everybody, tell me a little bit about your background and your journey to getting to Digica.
Okay, I'm Soren Bradbury. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of a company called Digica. We're an AI software services company. And how I got here, I studied engineering back at university. Was an okay engineer, but not outstanding. Worked in Ford Motor Company in sales and marketing. And then in 1999, I was in Ford Europe and got involved in working out how to sell cars online. So no one had actually really sold cars online. And someone caught me looking at Netscape and said, "Hey, what the hell is that?" And I knew a little bit about it.
So were you Carvana before there was Carvana? Or?
Yeah. So we set up in Finland the very first first European online sales channel. We did it in Finland for a couple of reasons. One is Nokia at that time was at the pinnacle of mobile technology. And Finland had WAP phones. They were doing online banking. So they're quite advanced. And we wanted to do something on retail distribution, changing the agreements with the dealers, and not many people spoke Finnish. I think Hungarian is one of the hardest languages. Finnish is the second hardest. So kept the English and the US press, the German press away from it. So I worked out how to sell cars online. We sold some cars online, the word some rather than thousands of cars, where we knew it wasn't going to be and we had those first car configurations for Ford, etc. And I'd ended up just never leaving that project and just ended up running internet and CRM for Ford Europe. I then exited from Ford at some stage and then worked in a number of different agencies and then set up my own web development agency in 2009, ran that for just over 10 years. And then I bumped into our investor of Digica who said, "Hey, I've done 2 exits from tech services companies. Want to do it again. Think I can do it again. I'm good for doing a third one. I'd like to buy your company." So I made a small exit, had a percentage of the new company going forward. The previous companies were called Teleca and Mobica, and Nick wanted to call this one Digica. So I couldn't lose that one.
Yeah.
And then that was formalized in 2020. In June 2020, in the middle of the COVID, we bought a small AI company in Poland called Enigma Pattern. I love the name. Yeah. And it's one thing that Rafał and I both agree, who was CEO of Enigma Pattern. We didn't really like Digica. We preferred Enigma Pattern, but Nick was adamant about Digica. And hey, I'm sure that wasn't.
Yeah, they're both great names. I don't think you could go wrong, right? So yeah.
So we kind of carry on with Digica. So we brought the 2 companies together. Rafał had been doing AI predominantly on computer vision and predictive maintenance for about three years. Most of it was proof of concept at that stage. And one of the things that Digital offered was that kind of longevity of software maintenance and support. Not to say high end is exciting, but had the implementation, that long-term kind of relationship with customers. So that's the history, I guess. And we created it with 4 founders, head of sales, myself, Rafał, and our CTO. So we brought that together with our investor, and we started really small. The first 2 years, 2020 to 2022, we were growing quite nicely, growing very quickly.
That's
2023 was a tough year. We had a deal with Meta in 2022, which was great. Such a small little company getting a decent contract with Meta.
Yeah.
Meta cancelled that in January 2023, got rid of a lot of their own staff. Some of our clients were going to go through funding. They ran out of cash. And so 2023 was a tough year. We decided not to cut our own staff. So we kind of spoke to Nick and said, "Hey, we need a runway of cash because we don't know when this is going to finish. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? We don't know." The 2023 was a tough year. Last year, 2024, we broke even and we're growing the sales. And then this year we're looking at a 20% increase. it was interesting that I was speaking with Mike, who's the head of sales. Last year was tough for us, the first 5 months of the year. I think we had something like 2 new customers in the first 5 months of the year. Mm-hmm. And in the first month of this year, we've already got 4 customers. And we've outdone the number of new volume of revenue that's coming through, has been signed orders that have happened in the month of January, is more than we actually achieved in the whole of last year. So 2025, we're hoping to be really positive.
Yeah, there's a lot of enthusiasm from a lot of companies going forward. So I'm hoping that momentum carries for you as well. And some of your ideal clients, what do they look like?
We're focusing on kind of 3 sectors. One is defense. It's very stable. Mm-hmm. But downside is it's not that dynamic, Right. So we're an AI supplier to British Aerospace and to Radfar, which is a Polish defense company. Mm-hmm. Where we focus on radar as well as on manufacturing elements. We're in the smart manufacturing side, and we're also in medical. So our ideal kind of client is perfect client would be a small team that have got a great idea in a product and have got a big investment suddenly coming their way. So they're a small team, maybe 40 people, whatever. They suddenly get 100 million investment, and now they need to turbocharge their development in AI and software. And then that's where we come in. And those customers are able to make that decision much, much quicker. If you win something with British Aerospace, which is fabulous, but it's a 6-month, 12-month
sales cycle. Yeah.
While if I was dealing with a founder who suddenly got funding, he then had investors saying, we've given you this cash because you told us you're going to accelerate your product plan and you're going to be out having this release and that release and that release over the next 18 months, get going, are very, very happy to kind of invest and move forward, and they're fast and dynamic.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about, kind of what you see in this industry in general. I mean, you're kind of right in the thick of this big shift, right, in, into AI and, you and I were talking earlier, the adoption rate is there, but it's slower than I would think it should be in the, especially in the wrong areas. Everyone says, oh, I'll play with ChatGPT every day. As you and I know, that's not adopting AI, but start somewhere. And what I'm hoping is that people watch our episodes and understand that this is different than cloud. And I was saying that before, and it's kind of in my message is that this needs to be adopted faster and quicker, and teams like yourself can help people accelerate that. So kind of walk me through, Søren, what you're seeing.
We're seeing very much similar. The real adoption of key kind of technologies has taken a while. There's a lot of hype, a lot of proof of concept, but now we're starting to see those elements being pushed into products. So we work with companies such as Teledyne FLIR with their thermal cameras, where they're embedding that AI algorithms directly into their products to get that competitive edge. Those are the customers that we see very much driving those elements. We see it in manufacturing. So everything from quality control using computer vision to maintain the quality. And we're seeing very much that kind of transition from being AI, you take the picture, you send it off to the cloud, it's processed there and come back. You've got a latency problem. We're seeing that being done on the edge AI. So we're seeing those cameras on production lines. They've got to take the picture, do the analysis on the actual camera, and then say, hey, that particular item is faulty, knock it off before it's gone on the production line. So you see very much edge AI. I also see very much what's going to start happening very, very quickly, I think, is companies working out that actually, do you know what? I want to train these algorithms on my data, on my enterprise data. And it's very secure. I don't want it going out. So I'm going to do it on-prem. So I kind of see the likes of Cisco, for example, moving very much kind of suddenly becoming far more into the fore because they're a very trusted partner of big enterprises and they're running often their own on-prem elements. So I see very much edge AI being small devices such as cameras, etc., as well as actually on-prem and actually starting to do that. Integration with IoT, you and I were talking about IoT and how important it is. And I think that enhancing that automation and putting intelligence across various sectors, such as smart homes, supply chain management, robotics, etc. So I see that very much that being. And then I guess further into the future, it's interesting that when I'm spending a lot more time in San Francisco is that I'm starting to meet quite a few people in quantum computing. And I do believe that that's still at this very early stage, but the
Really
kind of
early, but
combination
yeah.
of AI and quantum computing, that will potentially accelerate the computational power and solve
In a big
complex
way.
problems even farther.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. And so I'll circle back on a couple questions I have for you, but you were telling me a couple cool stories about IoT. For our listeners, right? IoT is just the extension, for anybody that doesn't know, the extension of the internet beyond the internet itself. And when you start to layer in things like AI and automations with IoT, real world implications are astounding. And I just think a lot of people don't understand like that because, again, we're on computers every day, right? And that's kind of where our mindset sits. But so, Soren, give people a couple examples, right? You were telling me the farming story, but I'm sure you have others, where IoT plays and how this extends out.
Yeah, so one of our clients is Residio, so when they're doing smart homes. So everything from PIR sensors that they have in the house, etc., we're then able to analyze that data and then predict heating controls and water leaks, etc. So we're able to use predictive maintenance on those elements. And the same thing with doorbell cameras, for example. So, obviously this is very easy and usually quite out of the box of standard algorithms to do people detection, but package detection is harder. And that's where we start to use a skill that we're kind of very specialized in, and that's synthetic data. So there's a lot of things about if you train it on synthetic data in the real world, it sometimes doesn't work. But if you do the mixing of real data and synthetic data correctly, you can build out all the edge cases, and you can then start to work on something. You're going to have a perfect package detector on a little IoT camera sitting on there and actually tells you, hey, Brett, your package has been delivered and it's from a DHL van, which I can see on the street, etc., or I can read the DHL signature on the cap, etc.
On the cap, right? Exactly. Yeah.
So these are the type of things that we see, as well as like IoT sensors in manufacturing. So we're doing a lot of stuff on building those digital twins, where we've got a lot of IoT informational sensors in a manufacturing plant, and can then actually optimize how that manufacturing process should work, whether it's anything from looking at how you use ovens to bake carbon fiber through to production issues that you're seeing and you're removing. Because if you're doing very high-end manufacturing and your temperature of a factory goes up by 2 or 3 degrees because of the ambient outside temperature, for most times it doesn't matter. But if you're actually cutting metal or fibers, which will change slightly, and you're doing some high tolerances for Formula One cars or for aeroplanes, etc., just that 2 or 3 degrees difference in temperature causes a difference in the actual cut. So that when you're then that's married up, it's a couple of millimeters smaller than you thought it was going to be, or etc. So
yeah, and there's so many cases like that. Yeah.
So we use IoT to kind of help us do that. So manufacturing is a kind of very, very strong area to implement it. And I think people will see it as not too far forward. It's very practical AI, which is what we kind of always try to focus our customers around, practical things that they can really make an impact with a return on investment almost immediately.
Yeah, almost immediately. Right. All right. And that's where, for all the founders and CEOs listening, that's where you get your CFO on board a lot quicker, right? Return on investment in a very short amount of time. And I think that's the impact that things like you're describing, Soren, can really have a major impact. So tell me about, as you look down the road for Digica, right? Where do you think your growth areas are? Are they just in those 3 sectors? Do you feel like you guys will expand? Because you solve some really cool problems. Are you still trying to settle on where your sweet spot is?
I think our sweet spot is predominantly around technologies. So computer vision and predictive maintenance and large language model. Historically, we've been very strong in defense and medical and smart manufacturing. Neither of those 3 sectors is massively kind of oversubscribed with AI technology services companies in there. So I think we've got a sweet spot to focus on that. But, we we work in agriculture. So a lot of the stuff that we kept through, and although we say we work in medical, there's a whole raft of medical elements. So we're working on cancer detection right through to inventory management. So we're working with one particular company that's looking at reducing the cost they provide the tools for doing orthopedic surgery. So it actually comes in a box, and there's everything from hammers through to drills and other far more complex, but it's quite a robust medical kind of thing, or putting a new knee in, or it's not, I'm sure there's high levels of dexterity required, but some of the tools, you think, crikey, that looks like a technician for a car company who's got one of those.
Yeah, I've seen those, like some of those tools, and I know what you're talking about. You're like, this is really what the doctor uses, but yeah, you're right.
So the tray's brought into the operating theatre, and then the surgeon says, great, we'll start the surgery, and then says, hey, give me a 3.2 millimeter drill bit. And someone looks in the box and says, we haven't got a 3.2. And then they go rushing out, trying to find a 3.2, got to get it sterilized. And all the time you've got an anaesthetist there, you've got the patient, and all of a sudden that 40-minute operations now become an hour.
Right.
So it starts there. So the idea being that, hey, take a picture on your phone. So an orderly takes a picture of the phone of the box beforehand. It says, hey, that's the Johnson & Johnson box 44, yada, yada, yada. Everything's in there. Or if it can't see something and not quite sure, because trying to tell the difference between a 3.2 and a 3.5 millimeter drill bit, it's hard for you or I to work out. And if they're not turned around, it will say, hey, I'm not sure if that's 3.2 or 3.5. Pick it up and have a look. Okay, yeah, I have. Yeah. And then the same at the end, scan it and say, great, I counted 24 items in, and I got 24 items. There's not one item sitting in the side breadth. It's still stitched into that. And so that's able to reduce the cost and efficiency of that inventory line. And then you can apply that just as easily from a medical line to manufacturing. So you can start to use that kind of technology. So that inventory management kind of just flows through. So it sits there on medical, but I mean, the stuff that we're doing in medical, and said some of it is cancer related, looking at computer vision, etc., and some of it will be logistics, and that can be equally applied across any industry that needs to kind of ship parts, etc., around.
I totally makes sense. So as you look down the next couple of years, right? Again, you're in the center of all this, especially being in San Francisco, but in the AI space, in the IoT space. What do you see the landscape looking like, right? And the reason I ask is because you and I were talking earlier, and I always worry about the hype versus the adoption and the impact, right? And so in every story I hear, the impacts way the hype, but the hype makes people worry. What do you see, and what advice would you give to other founders and CEOs on the edge and worry about being early? Because no one wants to be early adopters, right? They wanted to burn it, let someone else take all the bullets, and then, right? So, but in this case, I think there's a little different story, but I want to hear what your thoughts are.
So I think there's easy elements in terms of productivity and cost efficiencies. And you can take that everything from using AI. So if I was running a call center, for example, and we've done some stuff with a medical claims company, and they get medical claims in from various doctors in Germany, and then they read them and they say, yep, these ones perfectly fit the insurance claim, reimburse the customer. These definitely are outside. Send a regret letter to the customer or email saying, sorry, but it's not being accepted. And then these ones in the middle, let's just call them level 3 or 4 to level 7, are gray. I need someone else higher up in the company to actually have a look at it and make a decision over it. Well, the first thing that you can do with AI is you can reduce the first level for sure. So you can definitely do all the yeses and definitely do all the nos. And what we're able to do is to shrink that gray bit. So instead of it being level 3 to level 7 that I'm asking you, Brett, to kind of review, you're now only reviewing 5 to 7 or 5 to 6. I've managed to reduce it so I have less things. So I can see very much that ability to put that in place in a small way in my company. If I was running a call center, very quickly trial it, see the return on investment, and then push the button. And I don't have to do it straight away. I can say I've got a call center of 100 people doing low value jobs. I could use my AI for 5 of the people to begin with and prove it. Great. I can do that within 3 months. And then I can go, okay, well, I either do the big jump and get rid of masses, or I can just move it another chunk. So I just do another, but a sizable chunk instead.
Right.
So I see very much those are the type of process improvements that I can see are kind of easy for people to take on and just do, and they can see the actual results of those things. Or whether it's media buying. So if I was looking at media buying, I would use my AI to kind of predict that. And then, of course, there's all those companies that have products and they want to have that bit of intelligence in their product to move their product and have a competitive advantage. So I see cost savings being the opposite word in manufacturing and also in business admin processing. And then I see the kind of add that functionality in your product, but be very careful. I think there's already, this product's got AI in it.
Yeah.
What actually is that doing for you? A bit like I remember seeing someone at I was at CES last year, I didn't go this year, but last year, and there was a company with a wonderful refrigerator, and they had the camera inside and said, "Hey, there's 2 lemons, 3 cans of Coke, and something else in there." And I just happened to have a banana in my bag. I said, "Oh, can I put a banana in?" "Oh, no." And then when he opened it, I just moved the 2 Coke cans. Instead of them being like this, I just moved them so they're slightly obscured. It didn't work. It couldn't work out that they were actually still 3 or 2 cans. I can't remember what it was. And just because I'd overlaid them slightly, it kind of freaked out. So there's a lot of, it was like, this refrigerator has got computer vision AI in it. I was like, it's so fixed. So there's some hype, as you said, but there's some real practical stuff that you can get on with today. We've spoken, everyone's using ChatGPT and use it to help you write stuff. You help it to simulate and give you a summary of other things. And those other things are great. And you shared with me, one of your researchers had mentioned about, how he used it for a board meeting to kind of give him the worst case kind of person here. What's the most antagonistic board meeting going to say about this board pack? Give me the challenges so I can then prepare for that.
Yeah.
And there's those bits which kind of bring those extra bits to life. And then there's the bits which I think, looking very much at the processes. If I was a processing and admin processing company, I could certainly use AI today to really generate some value, and without taking a big, massive leap of faith. I can try it small, nice and contained, and then go forward very, very quickly.
I totally agree. And it's funny you say that, because my big emphasis during the podcast has always been is to build a ramp. Start small, just like you said, right? You can do a pilot program in a small, and you can start to see the value. And then you can extrapolate that across the company in different ways, in different segments. So the roadmap can be very slow and steady, right? But you can gain those impacts, right? I think that's the difference. A lot of times, historically, if we look back, right, if you're thinking, as a founder or CEO and all the projects early in your career, getting the impact sometimes was months and years out, right? Depending on the breadth of the projects. In this, what you were just describing, the way to do that, Soren, to me, you can actually get those impacts very fast, right? Which gives you the business case to do the next one, right? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it's that, I was there when Web 2.0 kind of was there. I was there on mobile, etc. And you saw the hype, and you saw the falling, and I said to you, I did for the first European online car buying service. We didn't sell a lot of cars. We spent a fortune.
So you the stars, right? From that, going too early, right?
So, but I think with a lot of the stuff on AI, you don't have to make that monster investment. We had to build everything from car configurators that didn't exist through to other elements and trying to stitch the whole process together. And nowadays you can start, as you said, nice and small, controlled, low risk, low investment, and start to scale. And you very, very quickly get that ROI. And that I think is the key, is that when you then talk to CTOs, CEOs about why you should make the investment, here's the value that it's adding. And I think then people go, I get it. I'm going to keep it simple.
Dip my toe a little earlier, right? Yeah, exactly. All right. So I told you we'd get to a couple cool questions. So any other personal stories you have around using AI that you'd like to share with other founders? Because already I think the incremental implementation is really a good one.
Yeah. So everything from just doing something as simple as, if you've got video feeds of your shop, you can quite easily then look at the shelves and ask the large language model or the large video model to say, hey, tell me if the Coca-Colas are not fully stacked, or some customer has gone in and picked up that cereal box and that one looking for something and now it looks like a mess. And so those are the type of things which are really super simple that you can put in place. And then I guess the key for it is then, how do we seamlessly integrate that into your current systems? I mean, that's the kind of thing so we see that, for example, with an agricultural company that we're working with, Dyson Farming, and we've kind of pulled together all the information together. And right from day one, we didn't wait for the whole application to be built, etc. It was done as a modular basis. And so right from day one, farmers who aren't always the most tech savvy and tech wanting to adopt it that quickly, they suddenly saw the value of it. And all of a sudden, hey, I want 1.1. When's 1.1 coming? When's 1.2 coming, etc. So we kind of built it into their core planning application so that it's part and parcel of their business. They didn't see it as an AI software solution. They just saw it as a tool to improve the farming. And it was seen as nothing different than that. It wasn't sold as some kind of cool bit of tech. It was just, this actually makes my life easier. If you can do the next thing, 1.1 makes my life easier on this bit, I'm all for it.
I love that. I love that incremental approach, because I actually think you can do that much easier with AI and some of these automations than ever before. And I think that's the theme that I want to get out. So, all right, last question before I want you to talk about Digica again. Tell me on your growth, right? Again, you already kind of talked about it, but what if I gave you a magic wand and you could fix one thing to help you guys really take off in 2025, what would that be?
Inbound leads.
Inbound leads.
Yeah. So we're really good at AI. We're really good at software development, but we really need to up our game in terms of inbound leads. That's the one thing which we're kind of struggling with. And that's the one thing which, if someone said to me, I can double the amount of inbound leads, I'd be like, that will help me massively grow.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, and that's what we're here for, right? Again, this is more of, as everybody knows, we're going to be publishing out all of our AI cheat sheets for founders and CEOs, as well as growth challenges and solutions. But really, Søren, to wrap up, this has really already been a lot of fun. Tell everybody how they get in touch with Digica. Again, we'll have all the links below once this goes live.
Okay, so best way to reach out to myself, Soren.Bradbury at Digica AI, or hello at digica.com. And sorry, can I cut that bit? It wasn't digica.ai, it's digica.com. So can you repeat that question?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So, all right, Søren, tell everybody how to get in touch with Digica.
Okay, great. Well, the best way to contact Digica is to go to the website, digica.com, or drop us an email at sales@digica.com. And myself or Mike King will get back to you straight away, get a conversation going, have a look at your data, see what we can possibly do, show you what we can possibly do with that data, and then get a project going.
Excellent. Søren, this has been a lot of fun. You gave a lot of insights, and I told you, you're the first guest that we've had on that's covered the IoT part of it as well. But my favorite part is you kind of talking about the right way to incrementally add AI. I think a lot of founders and CEOs are going to find that really interesting and very smart, right? Because again, if you're afraid to do it, anybody can bite off small projects like that. Also, your categorizations, I think, are a really good call out, right? The 1 through 4, and then creeping that up to maybe 5 or 6. And it allows you and your team to work on the more important things that sometimes you don't get to because of all the things below, right? So really, really good insights, Soren. And again, we'll probably have you back later in the year because we love to do follow-ups. So thank you for taking the time and spending it with us. And
Thank you. It's been a great joy. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, till our next episode, everyone, this has been your host, Future Proof Brent Muller, and Soren Bradbury from Digica. There we go. And we'll put...
If you're ready to embrace change and lead with innovation, be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Future Proof Podcast.